Hey guys, Andy here. So I'm going to start this video off with a thank you to Apple, which might sound a little weird, but I don't know. A couple of weeks back I was watching a Casey Neistat video where he was wearing the Apple Vision Pro, Apple Vision Plus, just wandering around New York, and it did look cool. I was thinking, oh, that looks so much fun, that's so cool, and just got my mind thinking about all the different things you could do with something like that. And I get that VR headsets are not new. I've owned some in the past, but just kind of, it just looked cool. Just, you know, having the freedom to wander around and have the mixed reality looked really good. Then a couple of days later, I was listening to an MKBHD podcast where they were talking about the Apple headset. And there was a bit of a point around pixels per inch and how amazing the Apple one is, like about 3,000 pixels per inch or something like that. And they pointed out, well, I mean, to be fair to the Meta Quest 3, that's the one that's the best pixels per dollar sort of thing, at about 1,200 or something. And it just got me thinking, hang on, how much is a Meta Quest 3? And it's less than £500. I thought, well, I watched a few videos and it just looked pretty much as cool as the Apple Vision Pro. Plus, Pro? I don't know, I forget what it's called now. Pro, I don't know. So I thought, well, do you know what? There's a lot of different options I could do with it. Let's give it a go. So this is what we're taking a look at today, the Meta Quest 3. I'm going to start off talking a bit about the design of the headset. In fact, I'm going to start with the controllers. The controllers are redesigned, apparently. I didn't have the Quest 2, but the controllers are a redesigned unit. And they do have a natural feel to them and they're very comfortable. Although I did sometimes feel like I had to reach a little bit with my thumb to get to the thumbsticks. The headset itself is also very comfortable to wear. I've worn it for sort of an hour to an hour and a half, probably at the longest, and it's not really become uncomfortable anyway. You can feel it a little bit on your cheek and some points around your forehead, but on the whole, it's very comfortable. Helped by the fact it's only just over 500 grams, so it's pretty light, really. This obviously doesn't have any external battery packs. You can buy head straps that have an external battery on the back to give it a longer life. As far as adjusting, you can adjust how close the lens, the whole unit is to your face, and you can also adjust how close the lenses are to each other because everyone's eyes are a bit different, so you have to get the right adjustment for yourself. I also bought the silicone facial interface, I think they call it, because to be quite honest, everyone said it's the more comfortable one, it's worth spending the money straight away. And also, I was expecting to sweat a little bit in it, so I wanted to be able to just wipe it down easily afterwards. Moving on to the hardware, start with sort of the screen, which might be considered the most important thing. The per eye resolution is around about 2,000 square pixels, 2064 by 2208 to be precise, which is about 1,200 pixels per inch. Now, in my experience, with my eyes, I think it looks really good. To give you an idea, a lot of phones these days are in the sort of 500 region, but then you don't have your phone that close to your face. But personally, and I don't have the best eyes probably, but I think it looks really good. You know, I've started watching TV shows and movies in the headset because it just looks so good. I can have a huge, massive, big TV in my living room that just looks fantastic. So I think the images look really good. The system on chip is a Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2, which is based on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. It's twice as powerful as what was in the Quest 2, so it is a pretty powerful system on chip. And to me, it performs fantastically well. You know, when you stick something in virtual air, it sticks there so rigidly, and your movement, it just stays exactly where it is, doesn't matter where you move to. Loading apps and things, I mean, they take a little bit of time, but the performance of the apps when you're in there, I don't really notice any kind of slowdowns or bits of lag or anything. So to me, it's a high performing chip and a piece of hardware. If we talk about how it works, I suppose, in some ways, so there's 3 pills on the front. 2 of them are monochrome, used for spatial sensing, and 1 of them is color, used for the pass-through. The controllers I've mentioned previously, they have infrared sensors on the body, and they're augmented by internal sensors and input from the sensors on the headset itself. The controllers are powered by AA batteries. If we talk about kind of the experience of using it and the performance of the unit, to me, as I've kind of just mentioned, the tracking is rock steady. If you put something in, if you press your menu button or the meta button and it brings up your options and menus, they just stick where they are. It doesn't matter what you do, where you move, wander into the next room, come back. They just stuck there. So to me, it just performs so well. The immersion is great. This applies to the hand and controller tracking. I mean, even with just your hand, it's actually quite impressive that it can see everything that it can see and that it can track it so well. Because if there were sort of delays or it wasn't quite on, it could really break your immersion. And if I link back into kind of the performance, when I've been playing some games like there's a boxing game, and obviously you're swinging at thin air, but it really feels like you're hitting somebody because it reacts so well and you can see it so clearly in your vision. And as your fist travels through, the reaction is instant. There's not like a delay, there's not like clipping where your hand goes through them a little bit. It's so good that it lends itself to the really good immersion. I was also quite surprised how good the sound is. So there's little speakers on each arm. And again, watching TV shows and movies, I don't think you suffer at all with the sound. I think it's really, really quite good. Surprisingly, somehow it's quite good. And then there's the pass-through. I would probably come down to it's pretty good on the pass-through, and it's probably somewhere where the Apple will have a big advantage. So the pass-through on the Meta Quest is good enough that I can watch a TV program with the pass-through working all around the TV screen, and I can go about my business. I can go make my dinner and things. I've eaten bowls of cereal. It's sufficient. I've even been able to, I can just about operate my phone or a laptop screen using the pass-through, just about. It's close. Then I suppose there's the kind of working in the VR environment or writing emails or browsing the web and things. I wouldn't recommend using the virtual keyboard, but you can just pair your own keyboard. Some keyboards, if you get the right one, although from what I can tell, they're all no longer made, the headset can detect the keyboard and can include it in the pass-through, so you can see it clearly. I don't really worry too much about that. Ideally, you want a backlit keyboard, but I've just got a small, I think it's a Logitech K380. And there was a couple of times I had to kind of look at it closely to check where I am on the keyboard. But then, if you're a reasonably good typer, you kind of just almost touch type away. And that was pretty cool. So I wrote some of this review I was writing in the virtual headset with a massive big monitor in front of me and just typing away on the keyboard. So that's kind of cool. I wish they would make it easier to integrate like voice controls and typing. So on Android, when you bring up a keyboard, you've got a little microphone button you can just press, and then you can just say whatever you want to type. That's not implemented yet. Hopefully it's coming at some point, because it seems really quite obvious use case for voice typing. Then if we want to kind of boundaries, so when you're using the unit, it will scan your area that you're stood in, your room that you're stood in. It'll scan it really quite accurately, and it sets up a boundary, which works like a kind of, if you're in an immersive world, it works a bit like a cage, but it only shows itself when you're getting near it. So as you approach near it, all of a sudden you get like a bit of a cage, a grid will come up, and that's where you know, okay, I mustn't walk that way any further, I'm going to walk into a wall or trip over the couch or something. And it works really well. So I was playing walkabout mini golf, and I could see, if you could reach out to activate the cage, so to be, to see it, and you could see all the area you could walk in. You would quite freely walk around your golf ball or the little putting green, knowing that you're safe, and you felt really safe. I didn't feel like I was going to trip over it because it works so well. On the flip side, well, I was going to say, does it break immersion sometimes? I'm playing some boxing games, and you throw a punch, and because your wrist does get close to the cage, it highlights and brings out. I didn't really notice it much. I don't know. Yeah, it didn't really worry me, but that might break immersion for some people. So you might want this. I think they suggest you want at least a 2 meter square space to use the unit. If you're sat on a couch or something, you can just, it will sort of trigger saying, oh, you're in a stationary position. Yes, I am. And it just recognizes, okay, you're fine. You're not moving anywhere. We don't need to worry too much. You can kind of rail jake the unit and just turn off boundaries, because sometimes they can get a bit annoying when you don't want to be kept told there's a boundary here, there's a boundary there. You say, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to stand here and do stuff. And I don't want to have the cage keep jumping up. So you can turn that off if you can be bothered. It is a little bit, there's quite a few hoops to jump through to do that. I'm going to move on then to the battery. So the quoted battery life is around about 2 hours. And from my experience, yeah, that's probably about right. If not a little bit more, maybe 2.5 hours. I haven't used it that long in one go to it be a problem. You can charge while you're using it, but obviously you've got to be careful. You can have a cable coming out the side of your head. You might want one of those right angle cables. You could have a battery, like a 10,000 milliamp hour battery in your back pocket and have a cable coming over your shoulder, and you probably go for hours then. So I don't think that's a problem, that 2 hours is a problem. The weird thing is charging seems to take about a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you use for an hour, it's going to take about an hour to charge that back up, which I was a bit surprised by. I thought it might have a quicker charging than that. But again, if you use external batteries to keep yourself going and you plan your charging properly and you don't forget to charge it after you used it, to me it's not been a problem in any way. We talked briefly about the software. This is actually running a version of Android, which is quite interesting. So again, you can kind of, I've used an Apple Turbo jailbreaking, but you can kind of get to Android, and you can basically, if you want, you can just install Android apps. That's an option. The Quest 3 is backwards compatible with Quest 2 software, so all these games that have been written for the 2 will work on the 3. I believe there are some games that will be coming out that are just for the 3, which will perhaps take more advantage of the hardware that the 3 has. Most apps seem to be between £8 and £22, which kind of surprised me. I was almost expecting them to be a lot more expensive. And because of that sort of price, I've already bought quite a few different apps because, £8 for something, why not almost? That's not a lot. You also get lots of different discounts and referrals get thrown around. So someone sent me, I think it was 25% off various different things, or you got £23 when you first activated and £10 off various different bits of software. So I'm going to put probably a whole variety of those links down below. So if you are getting a new Meta Quest 3, please use my referrals, because it just gives me a little bit of something nice, and you'll get something nice as well. So you'll get like £23 to spend on apps, and I'll get £23, or I'll get a few pounds, I forget exactly what it is. We both benefit is my point, so please do use the links. I won't go through all the different apps that I've been using and that I've got installed. I might do some other videos on some of them that I think are really good apps that you might want to have a look at. What I will do is go through some of the different use cases and like why I've got this and how I've used it. So it's sort of I'll call it productivity. So yeah, I've sat in it with a browser in front of me and I've been typing this review at times. Actually, my new morning routine when I wake up and normally I would sort of sit in front of the TV, put my earphones on because I listen to the TV through earphones anyway, and I'd get my laptop out and I'd start checking emails, I'd have a coffee. And actually the last couple of days, I've stuck the headset on, I've brought Gmail up, and then I'll bring another tab out that I'll then put iPlayer on, and I'll have the BBC News playing on the one side on a massive big screen, and then I'll have my Gmail tab here and going through emails on that. Often I use the keyboard if I need, but at the same time you kind of almost just use the controller to be the mouse to scroll through things, select things, delete things. And it's been quite a good experience basically, it works quite well. There are various virtual desktop apps, so you install some software on your desktop, you install the software on the headset, and you can basically connect into your PC and have the desktop, and it can be in like a virtual world, so you can be in quite a cool sort of futuristic room or on a mountainside or whatever, and you've got your TV, your computer screen there. But again, you'll want probably at least a keyboard if you're going to do sort of productive things. You can just use it to watch stuff on Plex or Netflix and things, but there are apps to do that, so not really a need to, I suppose. Which does lead me on to the next reason that I use this, which is for consuming media. So there are loads of different like Netflix apps, Amazon, Disney Plus, but the thing that's been a game changer the last couple of days for me is Movie Deck for Plex. So I do watch a lot of stuff through Plex, and Movie Deck is fantastic. You can, it's so configurable. You set up your big screen wherever you want it, in your living room perhaps. You can put a bit of curve on it, and you can then even sort of fade in and out the surroundings. So you get the pass-through can either be full pass-through outside of this big screen, or you can fade that away to almost blackness. So I was using it the day I was making my evening meal or whatever it was, so I had the pass-through on, and the screen just stays in the living room. So I wandered in the kitchen, I could look back through, and the funny thing is, even if you open a fridge door, obviously the vision of the TV screen is still there, even if the TV, you know, the fridge doesn't block it, it doesn't obscure it, you still see it. And then when I'd finished, when I sat back down, I faded the background out. In fact, then I sort of lay down on the couch and moved the screen above me. I just lay there watching the screen above me. Fantastic, so cool. Another use case for me then was around fitness. I kind of mentioned already that I was expecting to sweat a little bit. So I've got Les Mills Body Combat and I've got Thrill of the Fight. They're both kind of boxing type things, but they really get your heart going. If you sort of spend half an hour doing those two things, it's quite a good workout. It's so easy to do because you can just wake up in the morning, throw it on, have a bit of a workout, have some breakfast and start work. So I really like that. A little bit of gaming, more than I thought. I didn't think gaming was going to be a factor at all. But I got Walkabout Mini Golf in a pack with a couple of other things, and I was just so impressed with how well it works. It's so precise that it really does work like you're playing golf. And the fact that you can wander around a bit and look around things, it's just fantastic. Zombieland Headshot Fever, I've really enjoyed that, using both the controllers, well, using a controller as like a gun obviously, and you just headshot zombies all over the place. It's great fun. And there is the Steam Link app, so you can connect into your Steam account on your PC and effectively stream games from your PC, I think. I haven't really looked much into that though. And finally, just a little bit of language learning. So there's a game called Noun Town, which again, you just learn, you wander in a virtual sort of town into different shops and pick things up, and they tell you how to say it, and you say it, and you learn it, and you turn this town from black and white into colour as you learn the different things. So that's just a quite fun way of language learning. So all in all, what's my conclusion? I love it. I mean, I don't know, I've always enjoyed using VR and things, but I didn't expect to enjoy using the Meta Quest 3 as much as I have. Yes, there's the novelty value to it, but at the same time, some things are actually just work really well, like the Plex scenario, it just works really well. I love that I can just take it with me wherever I go, and I'll have a big 100-inch screen, you know, if it's going to be in a hotel or something, because you can play media directly off the device or plug in a USB stick. I think there's two reasons though why the Meta Quest 3 works so well. One is the pass-through, because you can just put things in your own world and do other stuff with it on. And secondly is that it's a standalone unit, so you've not got a cable attaching you to something. You can start something in the living room, wander through into the bathroom or the kitchen, and it goes like it's carrying on in the living room, wander back in, and there it is, and all the time you can hear it still as well. Yeah, it just works really well. I think also I love it because it is just so precise. It just works so well. The immersion is so good because it is all so precise. Things do just stick where they are. Things, when you punch someone, their head moves. It just all works so well. And I guess that's kind of because perhaps it is a reasonably mature sort of model product now. You know, this is the third version of it. They've had a few iterations now. They've learned from each one, and each one has obviously got a lot better. The only downside, you might feel a little bit ill, especially playing some games, because movement is still quite a hard thing to do in VR. And you'll find a lot of the time it works through a teleport way. But even then, I have taken it off sometimes, still felt a little funny, even when I've not really been moving very far. What I would say is that does lessen with the more you use the device. So don't be put off straight away, keep trying it, ease yourself in. There are a few tips out there if you want to help lessen that illness. But all in all, it is a massive thumbs up for me. I really like the unit. I mean, we'll see in 3 months, am I still using it, or has the novelty worn off and I almost just can't be bothered with it? So like, oh, I've got to put the highlights on. I mean, I don't think so, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. So there you go, those are my thoughts on the Meta Quest 3. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know if you do want to hear more about the games and things, and some demos and reviews of the games. But otherwise, just generally let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. For now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all soon.